Did you know one of the most important inventions of the modern world, the very technology you're probably using to watch this video right now, came from a Hollywood actress? Not a scientist, not an engineer in a lab coat. A woman who was famous for her stunning beauty, but who secretly outsmarted the entire military establishment. This is the insane and absolutely true story of Hedy Lamarr, the movie star who helped invent the technology behind your Wi-Fi, your Bluetooth headphones, and even your GPS. Hedy Lamarr was born in Austria, way back in 1914. By the 1940s, she was one of the biggest stars in Hollywood, known as the most beautiful woman in the world. But behind the silver screen glamour, Hedy was a certified genius. While other stars were at parties, she was spending her nights in her home workshop, surrounded by gadgets and tools. She wasn't just tinkering. She was taking machines apart to see how they worked and devouring engineering manuals for fun. She was a brilliant mind hidden in plain sight. And her big moment, her real breakthrough, came right in the middle of the darkest days of World War II. Now, let's set the scene. It's the early 1940s. The war is raging, and German U-boats are a terrifying menace, sinking thousands of Allied ships in the Atlantic. It was a slaughter. The Allies had a new secret weapon they hoped would turn the tide: radio-controlled torpedoes. Imagine being able to steer a torpedo right into an enemy submarine from a safe distance. It sounded like a game changer. But there was a huge problem. The Germans figured out that if they could just find the single radio frequency being used to guide the torpedo, they could blast it with a powerful signal of their own. This would jam the communication, basically cutting the cord. The torpedo would go blind and drift harmlessly off course. The Allied weapon was useless before it could even be properly deployed. This problem was baffling the top minds in the military. But Hedy Lamarr, yes, the movie star, was thinking about it differently. She looked at this massive military challenge and asked a simple but revolutionary question. What if the signal couldn't be jammed? This is where the story gets even crazier. To solve this problem, Hedy didn't go to the Pentagon or a university. She teamed up with a composer named George Antheil. That's right, a Hollywood actress and an experimental musician who was famous for creating symphonies with player pianos and airplane propellers. You couldn't make this up. It was probably the weirdest duo in the history of military invention. But together, they cooked up an idea that was pure genius. Their concept was a system where the radio signal controlling the torpedo wouldn't stay on one channel. Instead, it would rapidly and randomly hop between dozens of different frequencies. It would jump from one to the next, and then the next in a split second. It's like trying to listen to a radio station that changes every half second. The enemy wouldn't be able to keep up. Before they could find one frequency to jam, the signal would have already jumped to another one. To make this work, they needed a way to perfectly synchronize the transmitter on the ship and the receiver in the torpedo so they both hopped the same frequencies at the exact same time. And this is where George's weird musical background came in handy. They modeled their device on the mechanism of a player piano, using a synchronized pair of perforated paper rolls, like the ones that play music to control the frequency hops. In 1942, they received a patent for their invention. They called it a frequency hopping spreadtrum system. It was decades ahead of its time. And that core idea of spreading a signal across multiple frequencies to make it secure is the direct genetic ancestor of modern Wi-Fi. So Hedy and George took their brilliant patented, world-changing invention straight to the US Navy. They presented this elegant solution to one of the biggest naval problems of the war. And what did the Navy do? They rejected it. Completely. They basically laughed her out of the room. An actress inventing military technology? They just couldn't take her seriously. They patted her on the head and told her she'd be more useful selling war bonds and entertaining the troops. Her beauty, the very thing that made her famous, became a curse that blinded them to her genius. So, her incredible invention, the patent that could have saved countless lives and changed the course of the war, was filed away. It was stamped classified and forgotten, buried in a government archive for decades. Now let's fast forward through time. The war ends. The 1950s come and go. We get to the 1960s during the Cold War. The The military's once again desperate for secure, unjammable communication systems. Engineers digging through old patents stumble upon Hedy's idea of frequency hopping. Without even knowing a Hollywood actress was behind it, they started developing it for secure military communications. It was used during crises like the Cuban Missile Crisis to ensure secret messages couldn't be intercepted. Hedy's idea was finally being used, but she got zero credit. The technology remained a military secret for years. Then we get to the 1990s. The patent had long expired and the technology was declassified. Entrepreneurs and engineers were looking for a way to connect computers without wires. And they realized that Hedy's old frequency hopping technique was the perfect solution. It allowed multiple devices to talk to each other in the same space without interfering. And just like that, her invention became the backbone of our modern wireless world. Every time you connect to a Wi-Fi network, every time you pair your Bluetooth speaker, every time your phone uses GPS to find your location, you are using a direct descendant of the idea Hedy Lamarr and George Antheil dreamed up in her living room. The world finally started to catch up. Decades later, people realized that Hedy Lamarr wasn't just Hollywood beautiful. She was, without a doubt, one of the most important and unheralded inventors of the entire century. Hedy received some awards late in her life, but for decades her contribution was completely overlooked. She once famously said, "Any girl can be glamorous. All you have to do is stand still and look stupid." But inventing, she said, that's where the real work is. And she did that work. In secret, at night, after long days on a movie set. She saw a problem that stumped the experts and she solved it with creativity and brilliance, changing the world one frequency hop at a time. She proved that a great mind can be found anywhere, and we should never judge a book, or a genius, by its cover. So the next time you log onto the Wi-Fi or ask your phone for directions, take a second to remember the incredible, beautiful, and brilliant woman who made it all possible. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more.